Title: When They Came Back to My Door. The Ghosts of My Ex's Children. When I opened the door that rainy Thursday night, I didn't expect to see them. Two kids soaked to the bone, shivering under a cheap umbrella that had clearly lost its battle against the wind. "Hi, Mark," the older one, Lily, said, her voice small but steady. "Mom said we could stay here for a while." My stomach twisted. It had been 8 months since I'd last seen them. Since I walked out of that house, out of that life, out of her. Their mother, Jessica, my ex-wife, had made sure to cut me out completely. One day, I was Dad. The next, I was that guy Mom used to be married to. And now, they were on my doorstep. Let me back up a little. I married Jessica 5 years ago. She already had 2 kids from her previous marriage, Lily and Max. Their father had been mostly absent, and I tried to be the guy who showed up. I went to every soccer game, every school concert, every dentist appointment. I helped Lily with her science projects, played video games with Max until bedtime, even built them a treehouse one summer. They called me Mark at first. Then, one day, Max slipped and said Dad. Jessica cried when she heard that. For a while, it felt like I had a real family, until I found out Jessica was cheating. It wasn't a click text on her phone or lipstick on a collar moment. It was worse. I came home early from work one Friday and found him sitting at my dinner table. The same guy Shed said was just a coworker. My chair, my glass of wine, my home. When I confronted her, she didn't even deny it. She said she deserved happiness and that we'd grown apart. Grown apart while I was paying for the mortgage and helping her kids with their homework. I left that night, and I told myself I was done. Not just with Jessica, but with the entire mess. I wasn't their father. I had no legal tie to the kids, and though it broke me, I knew that walking away was the only way I could heal. So when Lily and Max showed up on my doorstep 8 months later, my heart cracked open again. I wanted to hug them. God, I wanted to. But I also remembered the phone call from Jessica months ago. The one where she screamed at me for abandoning her kids. The one where she said I'd used them. "Where's your mom?" I asked carefully. "She's with him," Lily said, her eyes darting down. "They're fighting again. She told us to leave for a bit." I looked out at the storm, then back at them. 2 kids, maybe 12 and 9, clutching backpacks that looked barely packed. I should have said, "Comin'." Instead, I hesitated, because I knew what would happen if I did. Jessica would find out and twist it. Make me the villain again. She'd accuse me of confusing the kids, of trying to steal them away. And part of me, the angry, broken part, didn't want to deal with any of it. So I said, "I can't let you stay here, kids. You need to go back home." Lily's face crumpled. "Please, Mark, we don't want to go back there right now." Max just looked at me, silent, his eyes wide and glassy. I told them I'd call their mom or the police if she didn't answer. They begged me not to. They said she'd just yell at them again. I almost gave in. Almost, but I didn't, because I was terrified of the past, of Jessica, of how easily those 2 kids could drag me back into a story I'd already barely survived once. Jessica eventually came to pick them up. She didn't say a word to me, just glared as if I'd betrayed her all over again. That night, I didn't sleep. I just sat on my couch, staring at the spot by the door where Lily had stood crying. My chest ached, because even though I hadn't cheated, even though I hadn't abandoned anyone intentionally, it felt like betrayal. Not of Jessica, not even of myself, but of those 2 kids who once called me Dad. Now Jessica's telling everyone that I kicked her kids out into the rain. Some friends say I should have taken them in. That blood doesn't define family. Others say I did the right thing, that I can't keep playing savior in someone else's drama. But I don't know anymore. When I closed that door, I felt like I was cutting out the last piece of the life I once believed in. So tell me, am I the asshole for not letting my ex-stepkids stay at my house? Or was I just trying to stop myself from being broken all over again? I couldn't get the image out of my head, the way Lily's hand trembled as she held the umbrella, the way Max's backpack looked way too light, as if they'd just stuffed a few things in panic before running. That night, I stared at the ceiling, the sound of rain still echoing in my head, even though the storm had already passed. The guilt hit me in waves. I told myself over and over that I'd done the right thing, that it wasn't my responsibility anymore, that they weren't my kids. But that didn't stop the feeling that I'd just failed them again. The next morning, I got a message from Jessica. Short, sharp, Just like her. You're unbelievable. They cried all night. You traumatized them even more. You never cared about them at all. I didn't reply. What was there to say? It was always like this with her. She could do whatever she wanted, but I was always the villain. She cheated, but I was the one who gave up. She kicked me out, but I was the one who abandoned the kids. And now she was using them again, twisting the story until it made me look like a monster. But the truth was I did care, more than I ever should have. A few days passed. I went through the motions, work, gym, sleep, trying not to think about it. But every little thing brought them back. The half-empty box of cereal they loved, the tiny dent in the wall where Max threw a ball to Hard, even the quiet, that silence that used to be filled with laughter and bickering. It all haunted me. Then, out of nowhere, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. Hey, Mark, it was Lily. My throat went dry. Lily, are you okay? She sniffled. We're fine. I just wanted to say sorry. Mom said we shouldn't have come to your house, but we didn't know where else to go. Her voice cracked on the last word, and something inside me shattered. I told her it wasn't her fault, that none of it was, that she and Max didn't do anything wrong. But then she said something I'll never forget. It just felt like you didn't want us anymore. That one sentence hit me harder than any of Jessica's insults ever had. I tried to explain. I said I didn't want to get between her and her mom, that things were complicated. But she was quiet for a long time. Then she said, almost whispering, you always said we were your family. Did that stop being true? And I didn't know how to answer. That night, I sat with a beer in my hand, staring at the photos I'd shoved into a box months ago. Pictures of birthdays, camping trips, little moments that felt so normal back then. In every one of them, Lily's smile looked genuine. Max had that goofy, gap-toothed grin. Jessica was always perfect, of course. But even looking at her now, I could see the cracks that I missed before. I thought about what it meant to be family. I wasn't their blood. I wasn't legally bound to them. But I'd been there when they cried, when they laughed, when they fell and needed a hand up. And maybe walking away made sense at the time, but maybe it also made me just like everyone else. Whatever walked out of their lives. I picked up my phone and typed a message to Jessica. Tell Lily and Max I'd like to see them sometime, just to talk. Then I deleted it, because I knew what she'd say, that I was trying to confuse them again, that I needed to move on. She'd never let me see them, not unless it benefited her. A few weeks later, I ran into one of Jessica's old friends at the grocery store. She told me Jessica and her new guy were fighting all the time, that the kids looked miserable, that Jessica was talking about moving again, maybe even out of state. The idea of them leaving made me feel physically sick. If they left, that would be it. I'd never see them again, never get a chance to explain. I spent that whole night debating with myself whether I should reach out, whether I should risk getting dragged back into Jessica's chaos. By morning, I made a decision. I drove to their house. It was a gray Saturday afternoon. The driveway was empty. I sat there for a long time, gripping the steering wheel, rehearsing what I'd say if Jessica answered the door. But it wasn't Jessica who came out. It was Max. He froze when he saw me, then his whole face lit up. Mark, he yelled, running up and throwing his arms around me before I could even react. I hugged him back hard. Lily came out next, cautious, watching from the porch. When I told her I just wanted to check in, she nodded but didn't smile. Mom's not here, she said quietly. I know, I replied. I just wanted to see how you two were doing. She looked at me for a long time. Then, in a voice that was almost a whisper, she said, we miss you. We sat on the porch for nearly an hour. I listened to them talk about school, about how Mom's new boyfriend was mean sometimes, about how they wished things were the way they used to be. When Jessica's car pulled up, I stood. She got out, saw me, and her face turned to stone. What the hell are you doing here, Mark? She snapped. I just came to see the kids. That's all. They're my kids, she said coldly. You have no right to show up here. And she was right. Legally, I didn't. But as she dragged them back inside, I saw Lily look back at me through the window. Her eyes said everything she couldn't. That was the last time I saw them. It's been for months now. I've moved to a new apartment. changed my number, tried to start over. But every time it rains, I think about that night, about the knock on my door, about the choice I made. People tell me I'm better off, that I escaped a toxic situation. But the truth is, part of me still feels like I left two pieces of my heart standing in the rain. Maybe I was right to protect myself. Maybe I was wrong to turn them away. But every time I see a little boy carrying a backpack too big for him, or hear a girl laugh in that same way Lily used to, I can't help but wonder if I really escaped, or if I just traded one kind of pain for another. Because sometimes betrayal isn't a single act. Sometimes it's the quiet moment when you convince yourself that walking away is mercy when deep down, it's really just another way to break your own heart. It had been almost a year since that gray Saturday on the porch. I still hadn't seen Lily or Max. I didn't know if they were happy, if they missed me, or if their mother had completely rewritten our story in their minds. But every single day, they haunted me. Their voices, their laughter, the weight of their disappointment pressed into my chest like a lead blanket. I tried to move on. I focused on work, on keeping my apartment in order, on dating again. But nothing stuck. Every relationship felt hollow, every conversation empty. I'd tell myself, it's not your fault, but that only worked for a few hours. By night, I find myself scrolling through old pictures on my phone, birthdays, Halloween costumes, the treehouse I'd built for Max, the tiny apron Lily wore during our disastrous attempt at homemade pizza. Every memory cut deeper than the last because I knew I'd never get them back. Then one night, out of the blue, I got a message. Not from Jessica. From Lily. Hi Mark, can we talk? Just us, please. I stared at my phone for a long time. My thumb hovered over the screen. I didn't know if I should reply. This could be a trap. Jessica could be manipulating them again. I could end up in a confrontation I didn't want, but I couldn't ignore it. Not this time. I typed. Yes. When? She suggested the local park, the one where I used to take them for ice cream and kite flying. The next afternoon, I arrived early, my nerves tangled in anticipation and fear. When Lily and Max appeared, I almost didn't recognize them. They'd grown taller, older, more cautious. But their eyes, the same deep pools of emotion, recognized me instantly. We walked along the path in silence at first. Neither of us knew where to start. Finally, Lily spoke. I wanted to say I understand now. I know you weren't trying to hurt us that day. Her words were soft, tentative, like she was testing me, waiting for me to crumble. I didn't want to hurt you, I said quietly. I didn't know how to protect you without being dragged back into your mom's drama. Max kicked at a pebble on the path. We don't care about Mom right now. We just want you, Mark. You were the one who stayed when she left. You were the one who cared. The lump in my throat made it hard to speak. I wanted to hug them, promise I'd never leave, but I couldn't. Not yet. I can't change what happened, I said, but I want you to know I never stopped thinking about you. Never stopped caring. They smiled, and for a moment, it felt like the old days, like I could breathe again without the crushing weight of guilt. But that night, Jessica called. I know you met them, she hissed. You had no right. I don't care what you think. They're my kids. If you try to interfere again, it'll make sure you regret it. Her voice was sharp, venomous. I wanted to scream back, to fight, but I didn't. I realized she still held the power she'd always had. Not legally, but emotionally. She could poison their minds, manipulate their feelings, and make me look like the villain in every single story. And yet, even after hearing her threats, even knowing I was walking a dangerous line, I couldn't stop thinking about Lily and Max. The weeks that followed were a tightrope. I met them in secret sometimes, small gestures, little breakfasts at the corner cafe, walks in the park. Each meeting brought joy but also fear. Each time I looked at their faces, I thought, if anything happens to them, it will be my fault. Then came the incident that changed everything. It was a Friday evening. I'd agreed to meet them at the library for a quick study session. I arrived early, books in hand, ready to help Max with his math homework. As I rounded the corner, I saw Jessica standing outside, glaring, hands on her hips. Her presence froze me. Mark, she said, voice low and dangerous. What do you think you're doing? I swallowed hard. I'm just helping them with homework. She laughed, sharp and bitter. Don't lie to me. You're manipulating them. You've been alienating them from me. They are my children, not your project. Lily appeared then, standing behind me. Mom, stop. Has just helping. Max nodded. Has not trying to take us away from you. Please, Mom. Jessica's eyes narrowed, and I could see her calculating her next move. You think this makes you a hero, she said, but you're just a criminal in their eyes. I can make sure everyone knows what you're doing. And then she walked away, dragging them with her. I sat on the library steps for what felt like hours, shaking, heart pounding. For the first time, I truly realized the stakes. No matter how much I cared, no matter how much they cared, I couldn't protect them from her wrath completely. I started thinking differently. I had to plan. Not revenge, not confrontation. Just protection. I made lists, strategies, researched custody laws, psychologists, safe spaces. I realized that my only chance at preserving a relationship with them was to navigate carefully, quietly, so Jessica couldn't manipulate them or me. It was exhausting. It was terrifying. And yet, as I walked home that night, soaking wet from the rain, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Resolve. I wouldn't abandon them again. I wouldn't let her control my life or their memories of the only stability they'd ever known. I didn't know how it would end. I didn't know if I'd succeed. But I knew one thing. I couldn't walk away this time. And so, here I am, haunted, afraid, determined. I've learned that betrayal isn't always about cheating or lies. Sometimes betrayal is silence. Sometimes it's protection. Sometimes it's walking away to keep someone safe. But now, I know, sometimes the only way to protect the people you love is to stand your ground, even when the world tells you it's wrong.